Hi folks, it's Michael Tafel here. I'm in the city of Florence and I'm sitting back reading a little bit of Francesco Guicciardini, one of my favorite authors from Florence who lived at the end of the 1400s into the 1500s. He was involved in politics, he saw a lot of different regime changes, and in his later life he decided to write down his maxims and reflections, which are filled with psychological and moral insight, and some of them are still relevant to this day. I'm going to read a few for you here. Here's an interesting one, number 49. Tell no one anything you want kept secret, for there are many things that move people to gossip. Some do it through foolishness, some for profit, others through vanity, to seem in the know. And if you unnecessarily told your secret to another, you need not be surprised if they do the same, since it matters less to them than to you that it be known. Following that, number 50. Waste no time with revolutions that do not remove the cause of your complaints, but that simply change the faces of those in charge, for you will remain still dissatisfied. He must have seen that a lot during all the regime changes he lived through. 131. There is a great difference between discontented subjects and desperate subjects. Though the discontents may want to hurt you, they will not run any risks lightly. Rather, they will wait for an opportunity, and sometimes it never comes. Desperate people go seeking and soliciting opportunities and will plunge precipitously into all sorts of revolutionary hopes and schemes. Thus, you need only once seldom guard yourself against the discontents. You must be constantly on guard against the desperate ones. Number 141. You need not be surprised at our ignorance of things that happened in past ages, or of things that happened in the provinces or far-off places. If you think about it carefully, you will find we do not have any true information about the present or about things that happen even in our own city. Often there is such a dense cloud or a thick wall between the palace and the marketplace that the human eye is unable to penetrate it. When that is the case, the people will know as much about what the rulers are doing or the reason for doing it as they know about what's happening in, say, India or the other side of the world. And thus the world is easily filled with erroneous and idle opinions. Now, that really hits home as myself as a scholar, someone who's an academic, who's been trained to try to find truth. Oh, how many idle opinions are out there and how many people know everything. It's so difficult. Number 155. It is said that anyone who does not know all the details well cannot judge well. And yet I have often seen it happen that someone of poor judgment will judge better if he knows only generalities than if they're shown all the details. For on the general level, a proper conclusion will often present itself to them. But as soon as you hear all the details, they become more confused. Interesting. 140. To speak of the people is really to speak of a mad animal, gorged, with 1,001 errors and confusions, devoid of taste, of pleasure, of stability. Now that's just a short little rant there. I don't quite know what that means. But the idea of the mob, the masses, we see that with a lot of philosophers talk about those types of things. 161. When I consider the infinite ways in which human life is subject to accident, sickness, chance, and violence, and when I consider how many things must combine during the year to produce a good harvest, nothing surprises me more than a good year or an old man. I'm going to end with number 150. If you have offended a person, do not trust or confide in them, even in a business deal, which, if successful, would bring them profit and honor. There are some people for whom the memory of an offense can be so strong that it drives them to avenge themselves, even against their own self-interest, either because they value that satisfaction higher or because passion so blinds them that they can no longer discern their own honor and profit. Keep this Riccordo in mind, for many err on this one. So of all the Riccordi, that's one where he even says, keep this one in mind. Well, Guicciardini always gives us a little something to think about, and I highly recommend any traveler to Florence, any lover of history, any person interested in psychology or human knowledge to pick up a copy of Guicciardini's Riccordi.